You already know they hurt you. You've said it out loud. You've cried about it alone. You've made the decision to leave not once, but 4, 5, maybe 6 times. And every single time you go back, not because you're weak, not because you're stupid, not because you don't know better. You go back because something is happening inside your brain and your body that has nothing to do with logic. Something that was put there by them without you ever agreeing to it. And until you understand what it is, it will keep pulling you back. No matter how many times you decide to leave, no matter how many times you promise yourself it's the last time, stay with me. Because what I'm about to explain is going to change the way you understand yourself and the way you understand what was done to you. By the end of this video, you are going to understand exactly why leaving someone who hurts you is not just a decision, it's a process, a biological process. You're going to understand what trauma bonding is, how it was created inside you, and the 5 stages that keep you locked in the cycle even when every part of your mind is telling you to get out. And more importantly, you're going to understand that this is not a character flaw. It is a response, and responses can change. The most dangerous lie in a toxic relationship is not anything they say to you. The most dangerous lie is the one you tell yourself afterward. I should have known better. Why can't I just leave? What is wrong with me? Nothing is wrong with you. You were conditioned. And conditioning, when it's done in cycles of pain and relief creates a bond that operates below the level of rational thought. That is not weakness. That is biology. Let me show you exactly how it works. Stage 1. It didn't start with pain. That's the part no one talks about. The beginning wasn't confusing at all. The beginning felt like the clearest, most certain thing you'd ever experienced. They made you feel chosen. Not just liked, not just wanted, chosen, specific, seen in a way you had never been seen before. They remembered every small thing you mentioned. They reflected your values back to you like a mirror. They loved what you loved, believed what you believed, wanted what you wanted, and your brain responded to this the way it responds to all intense positive stimulation. It flooded with dopamine. Dopamine is the chemical your brain releases when it anticipates something good. It is the chemical of excitement, of possibility, of this feels different. It creates focus, energy, a feeling of aliveness that is difficult to describe unless you have felt it. And here is what nobody tells you about dopamine. It does not just make you feel good. It creates attachment. It creates craving. It makes you want more of whatever produced it. They produced it. Consistently. Intentionally. So your brain began to associate them, their presence, their approval, their attention, with the dopamine that was flooding through you. Before anything bad had happened, the bond was already forming. What this means for you: the intensity you felt at the beginning was not proof that what you had was real. It was proof that you were being conditioned. Intensity is not the same as depth. Speed is not the same as connection. The flood was not love, it was the first link in the chain. Stage 2. And then something shifted. It was small at first. A comment that landed wrong. A withdrawal of warmth you couldn't explain. A moment where the person who had made you feel chosen made you feel invisible instead. And your brain, which had now linked their approval to dopamine, registered this as a threat. Not just emotionally, physically. The same neural pathways that light up during physical pain lit up during this withdrawal. Because to your brain, losing their approval was not just uncomfortable, it was dangerous. It had learned to need them. So you did what any person does when something they need is suddenly withdrawn. You reached for it. You tried to understand what you had done. You adjusted your behavior. You softened your edges. You became smaller, more available, more careful, all in an unconscious attempt to get back the warmth your brain had learned to depend on. And when it came back even briefly, the dopamine returned with it. But here is the critical detail. Dopamine releases harder after deprivation. The high of getting their approval back after the fear of losing it was more intense than the original high had been. Your brain began to learn. Uncertainty makes the reward feel bigger. What this means for you: the push and pull didn't drive you away from them. It drove you deeper in. This is not irrational. This is neuroscience. Your brain was doing exactly what brains do, chasing the most intense source of the chemical it had learned to associate with safety. Stage 3. By now, a pattern had been established. Warmth, withdrawal, pain, reconnection, relief. Warmth, withdrawal, pain, reconnection, relief. And each time the cycle ran, it reinforced itself. Psychologists call this intermittent reinforcement. It is the same mechanism behind gambling addiction, not the consistent reward that keeps you at the table, but the unpredictable one. The one that might come this time. The one that might not. Unpredictable reward is the most addictive kind of reward that exists. Picture this. You are in a conversation with them, and they say something that hurts you. You pull back slightly. They notice and immediately become warm. The version of them you fell for. They apologize. They touch your arm. They look at you the way they used to. And everything inside you relaxes. The relief you feel in that moment is real. The warmth is real. The oxytocin releasing in your body as they reconnect with you real. But what is also real is that your nervous system just learned. The pain was worth it. The cycle ends in connection. The cycle is safe. And so, the next time they hurt you, your nervous system does not say, leave. Your nervous system says, wait, the good part is coming. What this means for you, you were not staying because you were naive. You were staying because your nervous system had been trained through repeated cycles that this pattern ends in relief. That is not a failure of intelligence. It is a failure of the environment to be safe enough for your intelligence to operate freely. Stage 4. Somewhere in the middle of the cycle, something quieter happened. You began to redefine normal. The things that would have alarmed you in the beginning, the cold silences, the accusations, the moments where you felt erased, stopped feeling alarming. They started feeling familiar. And familiar, to the brain, starts to feel safe even when it isn't. You started explaining their behavior to yourself. They've been under a lot of stress. They didn't mean it that way. I know the real them. This isn't who they really are. These are not lies you told yourself because you wanted to be deceived. They are the stories your brain constructed in order to protect the attachment it had formed. Because your brain, remember now, associated them with safety. And threatening that association threatened your sense of safety itself. This is why people who have never been in a trauma bond struggle to understand why the victim stays. From the outside, the behavior seems clearly harmful. From the inside of a nervous system that has been conditioned, leaving the harmful thing feels more dangerous than staying. Your brain was not confused about what was happening. Your brain was protecting you the only way it knew how, by making the harmful thing make sense. What this means for you. Every time you minimized what was done to you, you were not being naive. You were managing the impossible task of staying attached to someone who was hurting you. The minimization was a survival strategy, not a blindness. Stage 5. This is the stage that causes the most shame. You leave. Something inside you finally reaches a breaking point. A moment where the pain is too large to minimize, the humiliation too clear to explain away. You draw on every resource you have, and you make the decision. And for a few days, maybe even a few weeks, you hold it. And then something happens. It might be that they reach out. It might be that they don't reach out. It might be a memory, a song, a moment when you catch yourself reaching for your phone. And before your mind has processed a single logical thought, your body is already moving toward them. Because your body is not working off logic, your body is working off conditioning, and conditioning does not recognize decisions made in moments of clarity. Conditioning operates at a level below language. This is why telling someone in a trauma bond to just leave is like telling someone in withdrawal to just stop wanting it. The wanting is not the problem. The architecture of the attachment is the problem, and you cannot reason your way out of an architecture you did not reason your way into. What this means for you. Every time you went back, it was not a failure of will. It was evidence of how deep the conditioning had gone. The depth of the conditioning is a measure of how hard the other person worked to create it, not of how weak you were to be affected by it. 5 stages: the flood, the first drop, the cycle, the redefinition, the leaving that doesn't stick. Every one of them happens below the level of conscious choice. And here is what I need you to hear, really hear. Understanding this does not mean you have to go back. Understanding this means you can stop punishing yourself for having stayed. You were not broken. You were bonded. And there is a difference. A broken person cannot be fixed. A bond, even one that was created without your consent, through manipulation and cycles of pain, can be dissolved, slowly, with the right support, the right distance, and the right information. The information you now have, the mirror does not lie. And what it is reflecting back to you right now is not weakness. It is someone who survived something that was designed to be survived from the inside. Someone who is finally beginning to see it from the outside. That is not nothing. That is everything. Tell me in the comments, which of these 5 stages do you recognize most in yourself? You don't have to share the whole story. You can just say the number, stage 3, stage 5, whatever it is. Because naming it is the first step to not being controlled by it anymore. If someone in your life is in the middle of this right now, confused, going back, blaming themselves, share this video with them. Not with an explanation, not with a judgment. Just let them see themselves clearly for a moment. That's all any of us ever needed. To be seen clearly. Subscribe to the mirror effect. The clearer you see,